Antman and Wasp Quantumania, another step further into the multiverse. Let's talk about it. Welcome back, Geek Variants. We are going to be talking about Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania. Just went to go see the movie, and this is definitely a step in the right direction towards furthering and fleshing out the multiverse. So we're going to talk about it. But what you can do for me is a small favor, which is going to do a big impact for this channel, is make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like, comment, and tell me what your thoughts are on the video. So pretty much with Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania, we start this off kind of getting right into it with Janet. We kind of get a flashback of what's going on with Janet, what she was kind of doing in the quantum realm, and we see that she runs into one of the variants of Kang the Conqueror. Again, we didn't know which one this is. We just see a soldier that looks, just like Kang. So that's where we start off, and it kind of goes from there back into present day. So this is where we have Ant-Man, who's been living it up as a celebrity. He's been writing books. He's been, getting free coffees and stuff like that. People are mistaking him for Spider-Man, want to take pictures of dogs, all the little funny stuff. You got to remember, this is an action sci-fi comedy movie. It's actually listed as a comedy war movie. So comedy sci-fi war movie. So take that for what it is. As it seems like, Disney and Marvel just kind of expanding how they want to categorize each of these movies, a little bit differently as they go forward. But let's say Ant-Man's been living up as a celebrity. Hope has been doing all types of things with I think this is the Pim Van Dyne Foundation, and really just trying to make the world better, affordable housing, helping with reforestation, different like food preparations and production and stuff like that, really using all the science and stuff that they've developed to kind of better the world. And Cassie has been doing a lot of things to help, but her help more or less is kind of landing her in trouble, more or less in jail. So she's kind of one of those kind of, I won't say Robin Hood delinquents. Some people were kind of getting messed up, homeless people, and she took it upon herself to kind of help them. And it's something that she definitely shot back at her father about. It's like, you're kind of being a celebrity, kind of doing all these things, but you're not helping anymore. Like, you're an Avenger. Expect you to help. So kind of a stinging blow to his ego a little bit from what you see it kind of blown up in the movie. But of course, during all this, Janet is still kind of uneasy with talking about her time in the quantum realm. She spent like 30 years down there. So things were happening, and she's never really opened up to talk about it. Hope has tried to talk to her on several occasions, but it just hasn't really gone well. Throughout the process of this, as they're kind of, talking about different things, we come to find out that Cassie, who has been learning and figuring things out and doing a lot of studying and research about the quantum realm, she's also learned a few tips, tricks, techniques, and stuff, and how to utilize the powers of the Pym particles. She has used them on a couple different occasions, apparently, with shrinking police cars and stuff like that. So she is already kind of versed in what's going on, which I kind of like this, because they're bringing in the new characters and stuff like that, and we're not having to dive into a whole backstory or I want to say a full-on training montage about how they kind of built themselves up, so like that. We just kind of like, they're here. They obviously got some mentorship and stuff like that, so they're learning a couple of things. So they're already kind of up to speed to a degree. They're still novices, but, we don't have to go through that whole, origin story rigmarole of, them getting their powers and learning. So it's definitely a good thing. But while Cassie's been doing all this learning and stuff, she ended up building like a quantum antenna type deal, like a transponder that is able to send information down to the quantum realm and kind of, echo everything back up, more or less, like a telescope. And in the process of this, she's been doing this with Hope and with Hank. Of course, Janet's very uncomfortable about this, because she's trying to figure out, why didn't you ask me about the quantum realm? Like, we tried to, but you ain't really talking. So she gets upset when she realizes what the transponder little telescope thing is doing, and she unplugs it, but it's too late. It's already active and doing stuff, and pretty much everybody gets sucked down into the quantum realm, and we're just kind of in the shit at this moment. So pretty great. It didn't take a whole lot of time. Really about 20 minutes or so, and we get right into, okay, this is what we're dealing with, and the majority of the movie is down in the quantum realm trying to figure out what's going on and what we need to do. So this is really good because we get more of the backstory on Janet, and she's got to kind of explain, because everything she was keeping tightly, wrapped up and trying to talk about, all of that's now unraveling, and she has to explain herself as to what's going on and stuff like that, who these particular is. We get, this guy, Lord Kyler, that shows up at some point. Apparently, him and Janet had a relationship at some point, and kind of a little funny moment between her and Hank there. But we start finding out more about, okay, this guy works for the other guy that she don't really want to deal with, that she left down here, which turns out to be the soldier character that was shown in the flashback, which is Kang. Throughout the process of her, talking with him, again, it's a whole flashback to where we can learn more about Kang and how they developed a friendship. She's trying to help him rebuild his ship, which is like a quantum ship. It goes off his thoughts, is able to travel and traverse time and whatever the case may be. So she does all this work to help him fix it. And he promises that he'll get her back to her daughter, which is, one of the main things she wants. But in the process of getting all this fixed, figuring stuff out, she actually has a link, because the ship is telepathically connected to Kang. When she touches the core device, she actually gets a peek into his mind and see what's going on and know that he's the conqueror. He's been exiled. He was doing stuff that, he shouldn't have been doing. And that's why he's there. And now she's like, yeah, I want to see my daughter, but I can't risk you getting out, because it seems like you're going to go and destroy everything. Even though he said, I'll leave your world alone, but I got other stuff to handle. So she takes one herself. She's like, nah, screw that. She takes about 4 of the shrinking PEM particles, takes the core. And of course, she's no match for him. He's got a suit back, so he's getting ready to do some damage. And she just, no, she used the enlarging one, and she blows up the other core. So blows up to extreme height. He has no idea how to deal with that, and basically she escapes, and eventually she gets, out of the quantum realm at some point, which is what we see in the movies. And man, this is what got to be dealt with. Now, this is the part where it gets interesting, because throughout the rest of the movie and stuff, they pretty much have to fight. There's rebellions and stuff, and this is where it gets the war thing, coming. Kang has built an army. He has built an army, and he is running the whole freaking world, and we get the entire, rebels and stuff like that are trying to fight against them, and they're trying to hold their own, but they're just not been working out. There's always been issues. We also get our first look at MODOK, really in the MCU, which technically isn't our first look, because it turns out freaking is Darren Cross, who, again, if you remember when he got shrunk down and Ant-Man all kind of jacked up and stuff, he ended up being funny looking on the way down. Well, that's why he has his MODOK appearance. He was rebuilt and put together by Kang, and again, he is designed only for killing. So that is his whole purpose. And throughout the course of this movie, he is just kind of the bounty hunter. He does whatever Kang says, and Kang is just trying to capture whoever has access to PEM particles, whoever can steal this core back for him, and get him back on track to doing what he was doing. So again, eventually he gets what he wants. He gets the core back, and he's trying to get to work. And now the entire PEM team now have to stop him from getting out, because he said if he gets out like that, everything will be fine. He can stop what's coming. If he doesn't get out, something worse is coming. What does he mean by that? Again, this is what they're trying to figure out. But again, they're focused on just getting Cassie back, which is Scott's main purpose, and getting out of there. So throughout the process, they get the rebellion going, they get everything kind of moving, and it's working out pretty well for them to get the whole rebellion, back on track and start kind of tearing down things. Kang is getting frustrated. Turns out he turned his entire ship and city, Chronopolis, into the giant core. How his small core was. So now he can teleport the entire city to wherever he needs to teleport it, along with his army, whatever case may be, or at least that main structure within the city. So they have to stop everything. We kind of see shades of, Scott going back and forth, but this is where we really get to see Cassie shine, because she has now donned her suit that she has had the entire time. They've built a suit for her at some point, but now she's kind of learning to fight throughout the process. So again, we get a little bit of that montage, but not too much. He's just teaching how to jump punch, and how Ant-Man fights, how Wasp fights. She's learning to do that stuff in the process, and kind of getting her getting her feet wet and really figuring out how it works in actual combat. So everything's going good. Kang is done very well as far as Jonathan Majors portraying the character. Again, he's cold, ruthless, wants to just break everything down. But you got to remember that this is still Disney, version of Marvel's Kang the Conqueror. So he's still going to be watered down to a certain extent. He is not going to be fully violent because they still want this to be able to be watched by the masses. So Kang, being the cold-blooded murderer that he is, again, it's watered down a bit so with that, but you still get the sense of what Kang is about. And Jonathan Majors definitely did a great job portraying the character. Now, again, a lot of the speculation was what's going to happen between him and Ant-Man, or how's Ant-Man going to deal with Kang the Conqueror. It's Kang. Again, Ant-Man and team kind of go at him, and they kind of try to figure it out as best they can. But again, they are no match for Kang throughout the entire process. Eventually, it gets to the point where the ants that were sucked down into the realm with them, because again, they were in the room when everything was kind of getting sucked in. Hank finds them. They help kind of tear things down. MODOK has a change of heart after Cassie beat the living crap out of him, and he decides to kind of help. And he's one of the catalysts that helps breaks Kang's shit after Kang had murdered just a couple people, because he's on a warpath at this point now, because he's not getting what he wants, which is to get himself out of the quantum realm. And that's the time you really see the emotion behind Kang the Conqueror. Is he's fine, he's cool, collected as he's going through the entire process and murdering people and doing whatever he's doing. But when you try to stop him from getting what he wants, whatever that singular focus is that he has, that's when the emotion comes out of him. That's when he shows that true emotion and that rage. Is like, you were not going to take this from him. He's already had it taken from him once, which upset him to no end. Now that he has a chance to have it back, you're going to try and take it again? No, he's going off the deep end. So throughout this process and stuff, they managed to kind of slow everything down, stop the transfer and kind of go in there. But again, the ants and stuff come in to kind of help, and they kind of tear up his armor a bit. So with that, so he doesn't have his armor, which that kind of where his powers came from. He just seemed like he was a regular guy without it. But once he got his armor is when he had his powers and he was kind of doing stuff. So once the ants kind of help tear that stuff off, because remember they're just swarming him. So he's trying to fight again, water down a bit. But in that process, the team starts to make their way back. They figure out the transponder. The transponder that sucked them all in is still there back at Earth. So they end up finding a way back. But in the process, Kang is still up and around. And now him and Scott have to go one-on-one to scrap. And Kang absolutely bodies Scott. Scott's trying to stand his own and just do what he needs to do. But Kang is too much for him. Scott's getting in those lucky hits and stuff, and he still can't freaking hold a candle to Kang. So I'm thankful that they did that. And a lot of people expected him to die, which I don't necessarily expect him to die at this point, because again, it's the quantum realm, so you're still gonna need him around for stuff. But throughout the process, he ends up actually getting some help, because Hope comes back through and kind of gives him a little bit of help. And pretty much what they do is they get him sucked into the core. And bam, that's kind of the saving grace for Scott Lang. And they end up kind of getting out of there, and the rebellion has succeeded. They took out a whole lot of stuff. So it was like, all right, the end kind of felt a little lackluster when it was just the ants that kind of carried them off. But when it came down to the one-on-one fight, that's where it got good, in terms of like, now we kind of got a showdown between here, and we see what he's capable of. And it kind of gave me reminiscent of when Thanos and the Hulk kind of went at it. Thanos just kind of bodied the Hulk real quick, and now we know what it is that he can do. So now Scott has an idea of what Kang is capable of, and so with that. So when the other Avengers come into play, which Kang has mentioned that he has killed several Avengers repeatedly, Thor being one of them, the one with the hammer. So it's just like Kang is not messing around. So again, he's going to need to take all the knowledge and stuff that he got from that fight and be able to relay that to the other Avengers, because they're going to need all the heads that they can get. Kind of same thing when it came to Thanos. So these characters are done very well in terms of making sure that you understand what the villain is about and where he's going with it. You kind of resonate with the villain a little bit in terms of understanding why he's doing what he's doing. Not to say you agree with it, but you understand it. And that's just kind of how they set, the path forward for what Kang is trying to do. He's trying to get out and he's trying to fix something. So it's like, I need to burn it down to start over again. Shades of Thanos here. Like that. But again, he's going about it a different way. He's just trying to kill everything as opposed to fix everything. He just wants to rebuild. So with that being said, everything's going to save sound. Scott's kind of wondering what really happened to Kang. He's not quite sure. But with the end cutscenes, we kind of see, and there's two, we see that there's a bunch of Kangs. There's 3 primary Kangs that apparently are running the show, more or less like a Pharaoh one, like a cybernetic one, an Egyptian type one. Like it's something going on. But these 3 call the rest of the Kangs, and it seems like they're about to do something. So that's what was coming, and that's what Kang was talking about. Like, they're scared of me, so I can keep them from coming once I get out, because they're not going to mess with me. But in the process of that, this is what we got to deal with. And that's the problem that they now have to deal with. There is several hundred Kangs running around, and it's not about to be pretty. And then the second cutscene, we get Loki. Loki is there with another version of Kang who seems more human, some kind of scientist. He's there with Mobius, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And Loki recognizes that's him. So I'm excited to see what's going next. I'm going to do another video once I get the other guys on, probably, and talk a little bit more about where this can go. But that's just a short recap of kind of what's going on in the movie. I want to hear what you got to say. Please leave your comments down below. Talk to me. Let me know what's up. What you think of the movie. Where do you think it's going to go from there? And how do you think things are going to transpire going forward from Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania? Now, keep that in mind. We are going to be doing Guardians of the Galaxy, which comes out in May, and we have Marvels later on this year. So by all means, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like, comment, and follow so that you can see what's going on when we talk about these other movies and how everything connects, especially with the MCU shows and stuff, because I do believe we have Loki coming out again this year. We have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is a Sony production, but again, we don't know how much them and Marvel are still working together, or if we might get some kind of some little crossover or something in that aspect. And that's kind of how the Secret Wars and stuff is supposed to go and how that's supposed to play out. So, hey, everything's up in the air. But that's all I got for this one. Appreciate you guys watching, and I will definitely catch you guys in the next one. Later.